but you can help us by helping others. You can help us by help. And Congress turned their back on the Sandy Hook families. And Congress turned their back on the Sandy Hook families. And because of that, and by the way, the Sandy Hook families weren't the only families to plead, to beg, to say, let's protect our children. There were other families. Every mass shooting that occurs, almost, there are families pleading with the government to do something. Parkland families said the same thing. They said, okay, how about now? How about now? Let's limit the access to these weapons to children, to kids 18, 19, 20 years old. And Congress thumbed their nose at the Parkland families. And the Attorney General's here. He's done nobody can fault the Attorney General for his commitment to this, for his concern for these families. It's very moving. And his entire office, and I applaud them in this effort. But the Attorney General wouldn't be here. None of his team would be here. I wouldn't be standing here. Most importantly, these wonderful families wouldn't be here, standing here, pleading, talking about what happened that day. You wouldn't be here. But if Congress had just listened, instead of just listened to the Sandy Hook families, if they had just listened to Parkland, you know who would be here? Eva Morales, Irma Garcia, Zaya Garcia, Xavier Lopez, Amory Joe Garza, Jose Flores Jr., Alita Ramirez, Annabelle Guadalupe Rodriguez, Eliana Torres, Eliana Garcia, Rogelio Torres, Jacqueline Casares, Jayla Nicole, Silvera, Jace Luevanos, Lexi Rubio, Tess Mata, McKenna Elrod, Neve Bravo, Layla Salazar, Maite Rodriguez, and Miranda Mathis. Think about that. This shooting doesn't happen if our government had just listened to these families, or and not just our government, but if the state of Texas had just even done the paltry thing of making it, even raising the age to 21, they would all be alive. And isn't that such a small price to pay? Yeah. We're going to turn it over now. Sorry? Yeah. We're going to turn it over now to our wonderful families who would like to speak and express themselves. And I'll introduce Kimberly Rubio.
Folks, a few families will speak, and then we'll do questions at the end.
Reading this report this morning, I read that Pete directed officers intending to gain entry into the classroom to stop. That no leader effectively questioned the decision and lack of urgency of UCISD Police Chief Alonso and UPD Acting Chief Mariano Vargas toward entering classrooms 111 and 112, and that leadership can arise regardless of rank and title. I hope that the failures end today and that local officials do what wasn't done that day, do right by the victims and survivors of Uvalde Elementary, terminations, criminal prosecutions. And our state and federal government enact sensible gun laws, because Uvalde Elementary began the day an 18-year-old wasn't allowed to purchase the AR-15.
Most importantly, from what we see with this report, and I commend the DOJ on doing this, is that although there isn't every name of the officers that were there so that we can hold them accountable, because we have to do our own digging most of the time, there are names that are named. And it is time, because our community is so divided because of this, because they don't want to believe that the people that they grew up with failed our children and they stand against us. I'm hoping that they read this and they see Johnny Phil's name, or Mariano Pargas, who is a county commissioner right now, or Constable Zamora, who is running for re-election. There are names in there, and the community needs to see this, and y'all need, because the DOJ stamp is on there, maybe y'all will start taking us seriously now, instead of telling us to move on, telling us to sweep it under the rug, and not doing a damn thing about it. We need our community. It's hard enough waking up every day and continuing to walk out on these streets and walk through an HEB or drive to an HEB and see a cop that you know was standing there while our babies were murdered and bleeding out. It's hard enough that. If this community doesn't care, and I hope this makes y'all. I also hope that this lights a fire up under the district attorney's ass, because we know that she has not done a damn thing, and we refuse to accept that. Do your job.
Let's try to go one at a time and just introduce yourselves so they know who they're talking to. Where do we want to start? Shimon, go
Hi,
ahead.
yeah. So just
Just want to know who you are, Shimon.
Shimon Pogrebet, CNN. Just do you guys feel that the report went far enough in naming people and holding people accountability? Because as we know, the DPS have the largest number of law enforcement officials outside of the CBP. There's a lot of video and a lot of information about their actions that day. But it doesn't seem that this report really touches on their actions. It seems to focus mostly on the local officers, Redondo and the chiefs. Are you concerned about that? You need some reaction to that.
I don't see
Would you guys mind coming up to the mics?
I don't understand why they are allowed privacy. My child, their children, they are named in this report because they are dead. Everybody should have been named.
Do you feel, if I can follow up, that somehow maybe DPS is off the hook on this, but when you look at this report,
I mean, it's kind of hard to answer the question because we've only been given an hour and a half to kind of just look through the report. So we don't even know if they are mentioned in there or not. We would hope that they are because they were there, so we hope that they would be accountable for their actions as well.
Ron, following up on that, Monica Madden, KXAN and Next Star. I know that you said you're still sifting through the report and everything, but were you hoping that the Attorney General would have addressed a lot of more of the aftermath, the delays in the DA's investigation, DPS's investigation into its officers' actions and accountability? Were you hoping that he would address more of that publicly?
I mean, of course we would have. We're grateful that we got what we have right now because it's probably the most updated information that any of us have gotten since May 24th. So we're very appreciative of what he's done right now. But yeah, we would have liked to have more information.
The other.
Radio. Did you learn anything new from what you've seen in this report? Is there anything that you didn't know before?
We knew as families, just kind of talking amongst each other, we knew that was going to happen. We just kind of, it makes more clarity now because it's written and now it's set in stone, and what we thought is true. So I did learn something. You did? I didn't realize that the scene was compromised. The scene was compromised. So that there was people that shouldn't have been there that were entering the classroom. That's mentioned in the report.
And was that what I think you learned that?
And I want to continue reading more when we're done here.
So a couple more and then we'll go read.
Two quick ones. These for WAI, KBB, and San Antonio. In all of your guys' mind, is there any question left that the DA should have all that she needs, all that she is required to have for her investigation to be able to pursue criminal charges now at this point?
Yeah, I mean, this is probably the most extensive piece that we have about all of the failures that happened that day. What else does she possibly need to prosecute or to remove these people from their positions of power when they can't even do their jobs?
Yami Dirhin, KBB, WAI. How safe are the children of Uvalde right now?
think the point of this is that none of us are safe. That's what, Josh just mentioned. None of us are safe because these weapons are on the streets.
Go right down here, right? Sorry.
Guys, Amanda Anderson from the Sport of San Antonio. I've talked to so many of you over the past year. A lot of you recently have expressed concerns about the 2-year mark, meaning that the statute of limitations for misdemeanors will expire. Are you hoping that this will potentially fast track the upcoming DA investigation, the ongoing DA investigation?
Well, even the DA can't get in our way of fully in our way of an investigation. But it ought to be, to your point, it ought to be said that the DA, with the help of the AG here in Texas, is fighting the disclosure of a lot of this important information. So the DA is effectively, the DA has a job to do. We understand that, but she's locked up this information that these families deserve to have access to evaluate their legal rights. There's no reason why she can't do her job so that we can do ours, and so that these families get the information they deserve to make the decisions they have to make.
Assuming she's still giving you no timeline updates whatsoever.
I mean, I think at this point, it's not a good bet to bet on the DA's timelines.
Over here, Sergio Martinez Beltran with FCR Texas Newsroom. Quick question, you talk about how you're representing the family, you're trying to conduct an investigation. What's the purpose of it? Is it potentially to sue the local law enforcement agencies? Like, what are you hoping?
Well, it's similar. I mean, of course, the DOJ looks at the criminal, the DA is looking at criminal allegations. But the other facet to these incidents is what went wrong, and how can we hold those people accountable in the traditional means, other means that we do so, which is by bringing legal action against them, so that there's another incentive to clean up their act, right? And so so we have to look at all the angles here, what contributed to this. And it should be noted that when many of us were growing up, am I the oldest person here? But when many of us were growing up, we didn't have these routine mass shootings with AR-15s. But guess what? AR-15s were available. So something's changed. And so one of the big things that we've seen in Sandy Hook and Parkland and other cases is that what's changed is the way these weapons are pushed on youth. And this is a tragic and unnecessary example of the repercussions of that. When I was growing up, nobody knew what an AR-15 was, and here every kid of a certain age, especially boys, know what they are because they're being courted, and they're being courted with other actors like social media and et cetera. So these gun companies are really pushing these products on kids for these types of missions.
William Alhado from the Texas Tribune, are you suggesting that you're going to pursue charges against gun manufacturers?
Well, I don't bring charges, fair enough. But the legal issues that were under consideration now I can't really speak about beyond just the big picture type of things that you have to look at in an incident like this. I mean, there's a lot of factors that go into something like this.
For the families now, what are the next steps? As we now have one of these investigations out, there's numerous. The DPS is still doing their investigation. We obviously have the DA who is still doing theirs. What is next for all of you as you continue to try and move forward and, one, put the day behind you, but two, create change?
I think we're going to continue fighting. We're going to continue fighting that some type of change is made in honor of our kids. We have nothing left but to fight for them. We are their voices now, so we're going to continue.
Can I just get a reaction from someone, the Attorney General, having him stand there, very significant moment when he says that lives, have officers follow protocol procedure, lives could have potentially been saved. How was that? How was that for you to hear him say that?
How do you want us to react to that?
Because so many people have not wanted to say that here. It was the law enforcement officials.
It was pretty hard. I mean, thank you for telling us, but I mean, it was pretty hard, to hear that. When he sits there and says that, lives could have been saved. I mean, I just couldn't believe it. For these officers who sit there and just not do anything, and still be out here you know, in the streets like nothing happened. You know? And my water's gone. It was hard. It was hard. I think we're going to leave it there, folks, and let the family still read a little bit. Thanks, everybody.
I'm the grandfather of Layla Salazar, and this mass shooting here. Why is it that our officers got rewarded instead of being punished, and got raises instead of getting demotions? That's what I don't understand. The DPS major there that's sitting behind Abbott got a $40,000 raise. The Texas Ranger that had been suspended a year ago, fired, he's still getting paid over $100,000. Why are we paying these officers and then you want us to trust them with our families when they're getting paid to do nothing? We lost 19 children and 2 parents and another husband that died right after. So really, I don't see where we should be rewarding our officers, because I was at the courthouse when they had the commissioner's court, and they asked me if they should have a raise, and I told them straight out, no. They don't deserve a raise. If you cannot serve and protect the people, these were children. All they wanted to do was play. There's no reason this should have happened. They should have did. They ignored the training that was supposed to be since Columbine, and they ignored it. There's too many failures in this situation that happened here in Uvalde, and for them to be getting rewarded for it, I do not agree.
What's your name and last name?
My name is Vincent Salazar. I'm the grandfather of Layla Salazar.
Thank you, Mr. Sorry.
Where's yours? This is not yours, right? Blake, this is yours, right? All right. We're going to go about this.
I will give you a thing.